My bit.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I've been waiting 2 days for this.
So, Ms Hall, could you please answer the question that Senator Sterle asked yesterday and
Hello,
kindly
Ms Hall.
gave me the document?
Hello.
Hello, Senator. Jessica Hall, First Assistant Secretary, COVID Surface Transport. So I understand that you asked a question about the Heavy Vehicle Safety Initiative.
Yes.
And the funding for the South Australian Wine Industry Association project and also the Tasmanian Farmers and Graziers Association project. Is that correct?
I certainly did.
So the first one, the South Australian Wine Industry Association project, was funded under round 5 of the Heavy Vehicle Safety Initiative on the 5th of June 2020. The submission that was put in was because of the South Australian Police, the industry and the heavy vehicle regulator felt that because there were around 6,500 to 10,000 truck deliveries of grapes occur over every 8-week period on public roads during the 2009 harvest period, and there were over 30 spills in that period in the Barossa and Riverland area that constituted a public road safety risk, and most of these were due to load restraint issues, that they have provided funding to develop a code of conduct and an education program to be rolled out nationally for the wine grape growing industry to improve road safety measures in those regions and ensure greater compliance with issues around load and chain of responsibility laws when they're travelling on public roads.
So, thank you, Ms Hall. So, the growers were grabbing hold of trucks for their own or other people, whatever, and the drivers, who I take are licensed, and depending on what size, well, they should be licensed no matter what size vehicle they got, sorry, I take that back, but they had a lot of spills because they were losing half the freight on the way to the vineyard or the winemaker.
Yep.
Okay. That's different. How much was that?
That was $226,888 of funding.
Okay, and then they're going to go off, I assume, and engage RTO or RTOs. Do you have any further? I'd like to know.
I'd have to take that on notice, but yes, I understand that they'll engage somebody to help develop an education program and a code of conduct and things like that to support the industry and do an education program.
Sure. Sorry, I'm looking at you like that, Miss Hall. As an old truck driver, I'm thinking if you can't even tie your load on, how the hell did you get your licence? Maybe that's another question not for you, and I might raise that in another Senate inquiry that I might happen to be on. Okay, you see why I bang my head against this wall and I start getting frustrated? My goodness me. Okay, thank you very much, Miss Hall. So if we can delve in, I'd like to know who is going to do the training, if there's a preferred trainer, if you can find that out for me.
Yep.
I'd also like to know, the code of conduct, is it compulsory, is it, what's the other word, mandatory or voluntary? What are the timelines to deliver that training? How many people, that the whole ins and outs, ducks.
Very happy to take that on notice, and we'll come back to you.
That's great, thank you. And the Tasmanian?
The Tasmanian one was very similar. So the project's designed to improve risk management and safety by educating the industry on the requirements on the heavy vehicle national law and their primary duty obligations. There was a concern, I suppose, that a number of the 2,500 farmers didn't actually understand their chain of responsibility obligations, so very similar to the one previously. The project was supported by the Tasmanian Transport Association and the Department of State Growth, and the project advances key safety and compliance priorities and is being designed as an industry-led approach to achieve stronger engagement with operators and better road safety outcomes.
Okay. Oh, no, sorry, did you want to... Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I think that's all I've got here. Oh, they just said that the Tasmanian Farmers and Graziers could be enhanced, the current tools could be enhanced to better reflect the relationship between the primary producer and the transport industry requirements.
That's a good thing. That's great. Okay, I look forward to that follow-up on that. So thanks, Ms Hall. Right. Where are we? Okay, the Road Vehicle Standards Act. That's what I'd like to talk about if I could. Now, the Act is due for implementation by no later than July of next year. How are we going? Are we on track?
Yes, we are, Senator.
Fantastic. So can you tell us how much progress has been made since we last heard from you in March?
I think last time or in previous questions of notice, Senator, we've provided you with a timeframe that showed that we were delivering against 4 tranches. Those 4 tranches, we've now delivered 2 of those tranches, which is the facilities for new testing facilities and also the component type approvals. So those have both been delivered on time. We are now in the process of working on the tranche to deliver the vehicle type approvals and also the component for special enthusiastic vehicles.
Special enthusiastic vehicle. What's that?
Oh, people who want to bring in their, hotted up cars and things like that from overseas and stuff.
Oh, okay. Oh, the vehicle's not enthusiastic.
Yeah.
The owner. Oh, right, got you. Okay.
Enthusiast
Special
vehicles.
Enthusiast.
vehicles.
It's the
Right.
ink on the end.
Specialist and enthusiast vehicles. Sorry,
Right.
Senator.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so we know this year's budget included $7.3 million for the implementation of the Act, and we're told that'll be fully cost recovered. How will that work?
I
cost
might
recovery.
get Graham Evans, who's the acting,
He better be enthusiastic.
or enthusiastic.
Right.
Thank you, Senator. So we have a compliance. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm Graham Evans. I'm the acting assistant secretary of the Road Vehicle Standards Act Implementation Branch. We have a compliance cost model that was designed to recover costs appropriately from industry, and that was all communicated through a cost recovery implementation statement, which has been published and approved. So costs will be recovered through a combination of fees and levies.
Oh, okay. Collected annually?
No, Senator. So there will be application fees, which are a direct reflection of the cost to the Department of processing applications,
Right.
and there will be levies collected. So some will be collected annually, and others will be collected as vehicles are put onto something that we're calling the Register of Approved Vehicles.
So like when their registration comes up, is it?
It's not registration, Senator, no. So the Register of Approved Vehicles, or the RAV, effectively replaces the current ID or compliance plate that are put on vehicles.
Okay.
And so every time a vehicle is put on the RAV, there will be a small levy attached to that.
Okay, thanks. Now, the budget also includes $2 million for enhanced monitoring and analysis of voluntary recalls. Can you tell me what that is?
Yes, Senator. So under the new road vehicle standards legislation, we will have responsibility for recalls from a safety perspective, and that the money is to fund those.
All right, because the high-profile one's that Takata airbag. Have we finally resolved that? Have we got them all back in? Or
The Takata recall is being handled by the ACCC at the moment.
Not yours?
I think I think most of them are done, but not quite all yet.
Right. How many were there all together? Just out of curiosity. Lots.
4 million? Around 3 million, Senator.
Wow. They can take your head off. Okay, so while we're on road safety, I'd rather stay. I think I've got a bit more road safety. When am I done with it? Yeah, I'll stay on road safety. I want to go to the National Road Safety Strategy, 21 to 30.
Yes, Senator.
Oh, great. Okay. So the current strategy expires in December this year. So will the government have the next National Road Safety Strategy in place by January 2021?
At this stage, Senator, we're anticipating that a draft strategy will go to ministers in November at their next council meeting. The recommendation to ministers will be that the draft strategy goes out for consultation.
Yep.
For ministers to agree early next year.
Okay, so we won't meet January 2021. Well, it's not hard to work that out. Yeah, okay.
It'll be close.
It will be very close. It will depend on the consultation. But
Sure,
yes.
but I'd say, but you've got to go to the states as well, and then by the, you know.
That's
Well,
what
it's
we're
being
doing in
developed
November.
in consultation with the states.
What, and you think they're still going to agree because they've been consulted on it? It's all right, it's okay, Des. Forget my it's a sense of sarcasm at this time of night. Okay. The ones who you consulted with their state might agree, but the other, anyway. So, how long do we think we will have it in place, before we will have it in place?
Sorry, Senator?
So we're not going to be ready for smooth transition from December 31 to January 1, but what sort of timetable are we hoping for? Have we had a discussion about what
I'm
look like?
anticipating it will be reasonably early in 2021, so I'm not too concerned, Senator, around the transition at this stage.
Okay. So on the 20th of August of this year, the Office of Road Safety appeared before the Joint Select Committee for Road Safety and told the committee that it had developed 11 key priorities for the next strategy and was consulting with a large range of stakeholders on these priorities. So what month did the office first send these 11 identified priorities to stakeholders for consultation?
I might get the head of the Office of Road Safety, Miss O'Neill.
Well, we haven't met. Hello, head of the Office of Road Safety, Miss O'Neill.
Good evening, Senators. Gabby O'Neill, Assistant Secretary, Head of the Office of Road Safety. We sent our priorities out towards the end of July and consulted over July and August, and we're still receiving feedback during September.
In September. Do you know how you came about? Because I put it in the ALP policy platform in Adelaide in 2018. How do you like that?
And I'm from Adelaide.
No, I'm happy that the government copied it. I really am. Just thought I'd give you that useless piece of information. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting there. Right, now the government commissioned the inquiry into the National Road Safety Strategy and the subsequent review of national road safety governance arrangements. Both found that a lack of adequate governance and accountability for road safety at the Commonwealth level had been central failings of the existing National Road Safety Strategy, which we're all very well aware of. So do governance and accountability specifically appear in the 11 key priorities for the next National Road Safety Strategy?
The accountability will appear in the strategy, but not the priorities that were developed under the evidence of fatal and serious injuries. So the key priorities for changing fatal and serious injury trajectory is based around the evidence of crash statistics, but governance and accountability are part of our program to take the strategy forward.
Okay, I suppose I should ask this too, that we hope that it's here by early January. When will we, the normal people, the punters, get to be able to
The public consultation,
Yeah.
yes.
No, you get to read it. So sorry, the strategy's going to come out, then it's going to come out for public consultation. Oh, I missed this bit. Hang
After
on.
the November consideration.
If Minister...
No, November, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
We
Right.
put in a recommendation.
But the final, yeah, but when,
Yes.
when do we get to see it? November.
After November.
After November.
No, good. Can't wait. Okay. So which stakeholders have been consulted on the governance and accountability issues, and are they all in agreement with the actions to address these issues?
The consultation was around the priorities, but we received significant feedback from the 50-plus stakeholders that we spoke to.
Might be easy if I just say, can you table those 50-plus stakeholders
Yes.
for us?
Yes, we can, Senator.
That's great. And did they all agree? They all walk out holding hands?
There was some very robust discussions, Senator.
Well,
But
you
I
see-
think what we found was agreement around the priorities.
So
We
in
think-
regards to the 11 priority areas,
Yeah.
which is what we went out for consultation on, I think there was considerable agreement to 9 of those, well, all of them, but they suggested that 2 basically get merged in. So we ended up with 9 that we will be taking to ministers for
9?
recommendation. Yes.
Two fell off?
They got merged in with
Oh, okay.
2 others.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Thank you, Doug.
Yeah.
All right, so look, I just want to talk around the social model. Okay, if I may, please. To you, Ms O'Neill, and to you, Ms Hall. All right.
Yes, Senator.
Now, the Transport and Infrastructure Council communique from the 5th of June of this year records the Council agreed to adopt a social model approach underpinning the action plans that will support the strategy. Can you provide this committee with a copy of the definition and explanation of the social model approach that was adopted by TIC?
We could definitely table it for you, Senator, but Ms O'Neill might like to take you through the idea.
Well, let's do both.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do both, okay, because it's very, very important.
So the social model is based on a theory or framework called the social ecological model, and its premise starts with individuals through training or schooling or education don't necessarily pick up and take off where everybody wants them to go, because they start with an environment and other factors that influence them, like their background, environment, who they work for. So what we're using the social model to do is really look at the influence that it has through the different layers, whether it's a systemic policy issue or an individual, at using influence beyond the transport sector to make change in road safety.
Good.
So there's a number of different layers. There's a community layer, an interpersonal layer, an individual layer, a systemic policy nature layer, and a intergovernmental layer. And so all of those working together, reaching out beyond where they sit and the influence that they can have on individuals to really achieve cultural change over time.
Tremendous. Okay. Well, you'll table that so we can have a read of that first available time, so thank you about that. Now, let's go to the targets. So we know the current strategy includes a target of a reduction of at least 30% in fatalities and serious injuries over the decade to now. Okay. So the TIC communique of this year notes that in the next National Road Safety Strategy, reduction targets, fatalities and serious injuries should be defined as a percentage per capita, recognising population growth as an upward pressure, correct?
Correct.
Right, okay. So can you confirm that the next strategy will include reduction targets in raw numbers and not just per capita targets alone?
I think the raw numbers will be available, but we're really targeting per capita numbers.
But you will have the raw alongside. So for all our road safety experts, we'll be able to see both figures.
Whether they're in the actual strategy or another document, they will be available.
But
yes.
they'll be available
Yeah.
hand in hand.
They will be able
Not in
to,
the same.
they'll be able to
Yeah,
complement it.
they'll be able
yes.
to complement.
Yeah.
That's, I thought I'd said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Now, has modelling been completed to support the development of targets for the next road safety strategy?
It's still in progress.
Okie dokie. When will that be ready?
I'm expecting it in November.
Next week? The week after? Give or take?
Well, it's been very slow in coming. It's very behind. Obviously, Senator, we expected it much earlier in the year. So
What's held it up? We just started a bit.
COVID has had a big impact on the ability for the research institutions to function and manage the data and all of that.
I can relate to trying to do business over Zoom. It is challenging. Isn't it, Senator McDonald? So the consultation, so can you let us know which stakeholders has the government consulted on the targets? Is that the same 50 or is it others? Or?
So we've consulted with all of the jurisdictions on the targets at the moment. I don't know if we've had conversations with others, but there haven't been proper consultation yet, Senator. That will be part of when it goes out for public consultation.
Okay, all right. That's good. That'll be in the January, from November onwards process. How are we going to do that with COVID? Just out of curiosity.
How we're going to do? Well, we'll obviously put it up on our website, but we'll try and do the similar sort of thing that we did last time, where we did a whole lot of COVID meetings with all of the relevant people that we're going to give you the list of as well, and we'll engage with them, and we'll make it publicly available, and we'll announce it on our website and through our newsletters and all of those sorts of things.
So will the co-chairs of the inquiry, now these are two people that I've got the greatest respect for, and I've made that very clear in many conversations, both in the chamber and Senate committees, but will they be provided with a draft safety strategy for comment before it goes to tick?
We'd have to have a conversation with the jurisdictions about that to see if they were comfortable with that as well. But we have a regular once-a-month meeting with the co-chairs, Senator.
And I could only encourage that. I mean, I want to be around Professor Woodley and Dr. Crozier every day of the year. I'm talking road safety, and that's great. But what would be the hold-up for them, if there is any? Are you aware of any hold-up why they wouldn't be consulted? I mean, their work was just amazing.
I don't think that there'd be any hold-up in regards to it.
No, sorry, Miss Hall. I mean, by actually, just out of, I suppose, decency, because they are the experts. They're the ones that were commissioned when it all turned to custard a year or so ago, or 2 years. Time's flying, I can't remember. But are you aware of any reason why they wouldn't be? I don't want to put you on the spot. I'll put you on the spot, Mr Atkinson. There you go.
So, put me on the spot. So we're happy to have a look at that and talk to the jurisdictions.
Yeah, if I can just have my 2 bobs worth, I think you could do a lot worse than bring Professor Woodley and Dr Crozier in. Thank you. Now, in the National Injury Prevention Strategy with the consultation. So, I received a letter from Minister Hunt in response to a letter that I sent to him concerning clarification on how the Australian Government will ensure that the cross-portfolio aspects... Are you aware of the... Yep, okay, great. And you're aware of the Minister's response, because I did read it. So what I would ask, when he talks about the Department of Health developing the national strategy, he talks about representatives. Can you tell me who is the representative?
I'm the representative.
Oh, even better. Fantastic, thank you. So how many times has the expert advisory group met, Ms Hall?
I have met with, because since
I should
I've
have
come
just
into
written
this
you.
role.
I should have just written you, that would have been easier.
Since I've come into this role, I've met with them twice. And I think prior to me, there was 2 previous meetings to that as well, but I'd have to come back to you on that.
And I mean, what time frame we're talking here?
A year.
12 months, yeah. When was the last one?
I'd have to check my diary, but I think it was about 2 months ago.
That's all right. Who sits on the expert advisory group?
At the moment, John Crozier sits on there, the Department of Health, the George Institute, I think a couple of representatives from jurisdictions, I think Monash University.
Good.
I can give you the exact
We've got the
list.
experts around the table.
Yep.
Well, some of them, yep. So what's your terms of reference for the group?
I'd have to go back and have a look at that,
Sure.
Senator, but the terms of reference, because it's actually extremely broad and it covers a range of issues, road safety is just one of them, and then it looks at it through different age groups as well.
Sure.
Yep.
Come, but you can take that on.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
come back to us. Thanks, Ms Hall. And we know you've been meeting for 12 months, but when was the group established?
It was before my time, so I think it was maybe around mid last year.
Yeah, okie doke. So part of the Minister's response also stated that similarly the Office of Road Safety is currently leading the development of the next strategy with all the states and territories. So can you tell me, and I suppose it's to you, Ms O'Neill or Ms Hall, what is the cross-jurisdictional working group?
So that's all states and territory representatives with their road safety expert officers, their senior officers. So
The
we
commissioners, the state road safety commissioners, is that?
In some jurisdictions.
WA
or
Road Safety
WA.
Commissioner, yep.
Yep,
And we meet fortnightly.
okay. Fortnightly,
Yes.
great. So once again, take it on notice if it's easy, Ms O'Neill, we'll get the terms of reference, please. Could you provide the committee with that?
There's no formal terms of reference for that group. That group was established out of the TIC asking us to work together, so it's very much all jurisdictions and the Australian Local Government Association
Great.
just pulled together to make
Yep.
sure that we develop the strategy together. And
Well, as
all.
long as people are meeting and talking, it's amazing what we can do. Okay. Once again, when was that group established?
That was established just before my time.
I think it was probably around August last year, but we'll take that on
Okay,
notice.
just after your group, yep. Now, as part of the response from the Minister, did you write the response, Ms Hall?
No, I didn't.
You didn't, okay, just asking. Now, the Minister mentioned to me that your office, Ms O'Neill, is establishing an interdepartmental committee at the Commonwealth level to harness the expertise of the Department of Health and a range of other portfolios.
That's correct, Minister. So I chair that as well as part of the development of the National Road Safety Strategy.
Oh, good.
So we have, as part of our consultation on the National Road Safety Strategy, we obviously have the cross-jurisdictional group that Gabby leads.
Yep.
We have the IDC that I lead that has a Department of Health, the Department of Indigenous Affairs or the National Indigenous Affairs portfolio. It has Department of Education, Department of Social Services, the Australian Federal Police, Treasury, Finance, Prime Minister and Cabinet, and Attorney Generals.
The only one missing is me.
Well, you're more than welcome to join.
I don't think your Minister would think that, but
No.
there you go.
I think they probably think it should be executive government.
That's right.
They're only human. Okay. So who else is on the committee with you, Ms Hall?
Besides those
Oh, no, you
agencies,
just told me
I
that, sorry.
yeah.
No, you just, I was listening, I was too worried about myself not being on there. Once again, established, when?
We established that about 3 months ago, I think thereabouts. And it's definitely to talk through making sure that we have a whole of government response to the National Road Safety Strategy. I think you've heard us say on numerous occasions that we're very keen to make this not just a transport issue.
Good. Yeah, okay. And how often do you meet?
We meet once a month.
Okay, tremendous. Now, there's the Road Safety Fund, the $2 billion over 18 months that's been announced.
Yes.
Now, I understand the $2 billion announcement for the jurisdictional road safety infrastructure projects is new money, is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
Great. Well, that's congratulations, that's great.
Yes.
Because the focus is both on jobs and road safety outcomes, which is good.
Yes.
So also, should congratulate on making the funding conditional on moving infrastructure. That's good, from being a high risk category to at least a moderate risk category, so at least a 3-star safety outcome. All right,
That's
okay. So how will you publish evidence of value to the community from this $2 billion funding?
So as part of the budget announcement, Minister, the government also established the Road Safety Data Hub. One of the conditions of funding is that the jurisdictions will also have to provide data to us that will go into the data hub that will then be made available.
And that will go through your office, Ms O'Neill?
That's correct.
That's correct. Good. Excuse me, and when will this evidence be publicly available?
Well, as soon as we can make it publicly available when we get the data, and we've been able to turn it into something that we can compare apples and apples with. So that's the exciting part of the new data hub, is that we'll be able to get that out sooner rather than later, hopefully.
You were doing so well, Ms Hall. You just threw a curveball at me. I know it'll
Sorry.
be available when it's available, but when do you think it might be available?
So depending on...
You've been hanging around him too long.
Yeah, no, sorry, Senator, I understand. So in regards to the projects, so the projects are hopefully, we're anticipating that they'll start early next year, January next year. What we're hoping is that we will get data in regards to, once the projects have been approved, at the start, to get an understanding of what the conditions of those roads are now, and then we'll get updates on those roads, as well as information on any fatalities or serious injuries. Once we get that information, we'll obviously provide it to our bureau, who will be the initial data hub to start off with, and I anticipate that we'll probably be in a position to, and we haven't clearly identified the timeframes, but we'll have regular reporting probably every 6 months or thereabouts.
Well, this is encouraging, because road safety should never be political. This is good. So, now the easy part.
We're very happy with this program. I think it's going to make it.
Oh, I'm watching it like a hawk because I'm excited.
Well, so are we,
I really hope it
Senator.
comes off. So, doubling the money wouldn't hurt, but anyway, that's enough. Now, the easy one. How will the funding be apportioned between the states, or the jurisdictions, I should say?
So I think this question was
We
answered,
answered
yes.
this in IID
Yesterday.
about how it's based on the
It's a kilometres
kilometres of
of
road
road.
formula.
Yeah.
it's
So WA should get a third of it.
There you go.
WA gets a lot. This
Yeah.
is
So
very
we should
good
be a
for
third
WA.
of the nation.
Yep.
That's all right.
I'm not sure the exact numbers, but
Yeah.
it's a very good program for WA and Queensland.
Yeah,
And everyone, of
that's
course.
the main thing then, that's
Yeah.
great. So can you just take it on notice?
Yeah, it'll be published
It'll be
shortly, I
published.
believe Mr Smith said
Yep.
that the splits will be published shortly.
Very shortly? Oh,
Yep.
okay. And the formula is on the road, so that's all there, yep. So how will this 3-star moderate risk safety outcome be measured in order to meet the announced federal funding requirements?
So Austroads actually does this work, but I'll get Gabby to talk.
Okay,
So currently, when all state agencies have an understanding, you know, of what attributes are on their road, what physical limitations there are, and then with the application of treatments, they should be able to tell us how much the risk has been reduced, as well as the hard data of after that has been done, how has it resulted in a reduction of fatal and serious injuries.
yep, good. And is this using the ANRAM calculations?
We have said, because obviously we want to roll this out quickly and get it started, whether they've got an OSRAP, an IRAP, an ANRAM, whatever, whether it's a network safety plan,
All right.
whatever they've got, that's what we'll take, and then over time we'll build to uniformity.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you. Now, will there be open publication of these funded treatments along with the supporting risk reduction outcomes?
I imagine there'll be a series of press releases because people will want to see
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
the money's going and what's going down, and
Yeah,
then the data hub will obviously over time show what has been achieved.
Sure, but...
So you'll see all of the projects.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of press releases, but also follow up through the Office of Road Safety with it.
So after 5 years, I
Yep.
would expect us to do a full evaluation to make sure what we thought was going to happen actually happened. And obviously all of our research bodies and Austroads are really interested to see if the algorithms that they have now for calculating risk
Yeah,
actually eventuate. So this is going to be a really good research project as well to inform future investment and the effectiveness of investment and treatments.
very good. That is very good. So can you tell me what is the cost of the department to support staff to manage these funds and ensure reporting on safety outcomes is adequate? You can take this on notice if you haven't
I
got
can
it.
help with that one. That was part of the question the other day about implementation funding that we got.
Okay, so how much was that?
Yes.
Did you supply that in the pack?
No, it was in budget paper 2. Senator Watt was asking about it yesterday. It was the implementation funding we got across all of these measures.
Alright.
It was bundled up.
So we've done that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, okay. So if we've done it, just let me know. So exactly what road safety data is earmarked as the key condition of funding?
So we'll be looking for traffic volume and mix. We'll be looking for, sorry, should know off the top of my head. We want to understand the fatal and serious injuries. We want to understand what risk rating they would have now on the
Yep.
road and what change we're expecting to see.
Good. Will any of this funding support speed reduction outcomes?
Well, it's entirely possible. We don't have the proposals before us yet.
Sure, okay. Now, how is this funding targeting serious injury reduction?
I would expect us to see greater serious injury reductions in urban environments with separation for pedestrians or cyclists or personal mobility devices, or the application of roundabouts, the access on, high-speed arterial roads and things like that. So it will depend on the proposals that we receive and what that particular population is being targeted.
Okay, well, given the National Partnership Agreement split is 80-20 for regional rural works versus 50-50 for urban works, will it encourage jurisdictions to target regional rural works?
I think there will be significant, but I won't know until I
Yeah.
see the proposals. But we know that we have a significant number of shoulder sealing and,
Yep.
rumble strips to put down, wide centre lines.
Yep.
So we know that the need is there and the funding is there. So that may be what they target first. And also given that they're very easy to roll out with lower design
Yeah,
and planning needed. So,
that's great. Yep.
yeah.
So how's the federal funding adequately targeting serious injuries, which we know is around, I think it's increased around 40,000 a year now, isn't it? So how's it doing with suitable weighting in comparison to deaths of 1,200 per year?
The weighting towards serious injuries is going to be greater in urban environments,
Yeah,
or through, as I say, the application of roundabout treatments. And I'm hearing some very encouraging...
of what, sorry?
Roundabouts.
Oh, roundabouts.
Yeah,
yes.
so the small ones, we're seeing some innovative practices taking place, particularly in regional areas where, they're building smaller ones, lower speed entry limit, and so we're looking forward
Great
to
for
receiving...
semi-trailers when they're coming to move your furniture. See, no one thinks of that. I do.
Still, I've got some other people who are keen to ask questions.
Tough.
Do you feel like
Oh,
a
I'm just
break and then
joking.
come back to you?
Look, let me finish this 2 questions.
All right.
And then, actually, let me finish 3. I'll be nice and quick. And then I'll come back and do more road safety.
Terrific.
Okay, thank you. So can you tell me, please, Ms O'Neill or Ms Hall, how is this funding supporting the UN's 2030 targets to reduce fatal and serious injuries by 50%? And how will it be measured, especially injuries?
Well, that all goes to our reducing the risk and seeing a change in the risk with the application of these treatments. So we're asking for evidence-based measures that target fatal and serious injuries.
Sure,
So that's what we're expecting to get, and that's what we'll be assessing the proposals against.
that's great. Is there any funding earmarked to be utilised to support outcomes of the recent Productivity Commission for the National Transport Regulatory Reform Inquiry Report?
So in regards to the PC report...
Yeah, I've got the PC report here. I'm on the warpath on that on the trucks, but anyway,
well,
that's
we-
another story.
Okay, well, we've got plenty of time.
No, I've got to sort out some other government departments. It's all right, not you guys.
Oh, okay. So in regards to the 2 billion, the 2 billion will not be specifically targeting any of the recommendations in the PC report,
Yep.
but saying that we anticipate that a number of the rural and regional roads will actually assist in upgrading roads that have heavy vehicles on them.
Good. Okie doke. I'll be watching that one. So my last one for this section, what happens with any funding that may be left over at the end of 18 months?
I would be stunned if that happened.
That was a trick question.
Yes, I would.
They
I would,
you
I
come
would
back in 18 months and say we need more day.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it was not filled up very quickly.
Lucky Senator Watt's not here, otherwise we'd go into a tirade of how much hasn't been spent so far in infrastructure. But see, it's not. I'm not Senator Watt.
No, good on you, Senator.
Oh, hey, I'll be back in 18 months, let me
on
tell
you.
you.
And Senator Stoll, could I just add on this? I'm actually very optimistic because of the low design requirements for these that we actually will be able to move really quickly on it. And I've asked the states to give us as many projects as they can so that we have a full book.
Mr Atkinson, I am tickled pink that the Commonwealth has finally woken out of its slumber to realise that the Commonwealth has a major role to play in road safety. I'm wrapped. You're waiting for a curveball. I'm dinkum. I've been going on about this for years.
No, we know.
I'm the only one. Anyway.
My questions relate to road safety too.
Well, over to you then, Senator McKenzie.
Thank you
What
very
a great
much.
segue.
Chair, and thank you for your indulgence, Senator Stirl. I wanted to return to a series of questions I was asking yesterday, seeking the release of the Murray Basin Rail Project business case review. And look what rocked up just before question time today.
It's amazing the impact
It's
that Senate
amazing
Estimates has.
that Senate Estimates produces movement at the station in state Labor governments that we are dying to see. No, well, you will back me on this. This is taking more trucks off the road and putting freight onto rail. Good for farmers, good for road safety. So this business case review has been released. It was released to this early afternoon. I'm just wondering Mr Atkinson, has the department had a chance to read, not obviously the full, 60-odd pages, a 7-page summary? Has anyone read the 7-page
Senator,
summary?
I've been a little busy, but Mr Smith is ready to speak to you.
Yes, I have read that, Senator.
And preliminary thoughts?
I guess as we discussed yesterday, it outlines 4 options.
4 options?
4 options on a sliding scale, increasing the scope and service along the way. And obviously option D provides the most scope and service. And as the report outlines, does not necessarily deliver the full 2015 business case.
No. Have you had a chance to consult with industry or community today? I know you haven't had it for long, but a quick call to the Victorian Farmers Federation, grain growers, any of the local councils?
No, we haven't made any calls ourselves today. We're obviously looking forward to seeing the feedback. We've seen some media roll in already.
Yep, I've got some preliminary feedback, and it's option C, the full standardisation as originally envisaged, is what industry wants. It is what the consultation committee set up by the state government wants. It is what was promised. It is what was funded. It was what was agreed. And thanks to the complete incompetence of Jacinta Allen, who is yet, I believe, to deliver a project on time and on budget, to once again leave rural and regional industry and communities hanging, while she focuses on inner urban and major provincial seats like Ballarat. Mr Smith, has the federal government got a preferred option?
The government's considering the options, and obviously we're working closely with officials, exploring all options, including full delivery.
Have you also had any thoughts about the outrageous request that we somehow find some more money for a project that they stuffed up?
Funding is a matter for government.
Oh, I know. Okay. Minister.
Hello, Senator.
Yes, hello. Well, look, I'll just read some commentary from, the local MP down there, but also a shadow minister who is very, very tied to this project. And we did talk about the track that was laid, I think it was 1912. Can someone confirm that one of the issues raised in that audit report?
Early 1900s, yes.
Early 1900s. We're laying rail track in 2020 using track from the early 1900s.
Australian still, eh?
Well,
Not many jobs in that
the
steel
Auditor
anymore.
General in my home state actually called that out as, a little bit beyond the pale. So now we've got the executive summary. When will we see the full summary and when will it be released to the public?
I should say, we talked about this a little bit tomorrow, and just to correct the record, we've gone back and checked we actually have both documents that you're asking for. Release of the documents is a matter for government. They are actually Victorian government documents, so we'll...
But we have them. You have them.
Yes. So
Yep,
we'll
and they're clearly not shy.
So we'll liaise with the Victorian government about potential release, and obviously consult with the minister on the potential release.
Right.
So if I could take that on notice, please.
Well, I would like that tabled to this committee as soon as possible. Does the business case executive summary, it provides a range of options about standardising the network. Sorry, I'm just receiving some advice here.
Not from Bart.
Oh, yes, no, I've read that.
Well, let us...
So the business case is supposed to consider cost-benefit analysis, right? Is that what it's supposed to do, Mr Smith?
A full business case would consider cost-benefit analysis.
Absolutely.
This
So
is,
you have the full business case, and I'm assuming now that you found it today, following
Yes.
our questions
Yes,
yesterday,
we did.
you will have read it completely, just to refresh your memory. Not you
no.
personally, someone.
No, I don't
there.
think the business case is
But
obviously
my
several years
question
old.
goes to, when I read this executive document and I look at on page 4 and 5, the strategic response to problems, it lists, time, capital investment, changing strategic priorities. I don't see any analysis or consideration of the damage to local roads, the road safety issues that would actually arise from the continued leakage of freight from this rail network to road trains, etc., from this community right throughout the Mallee to getting to port. So you'd think if you're doing a cost-benefit analysis, you might actually look at where you're trying to shift the cost to for your decisions. And I would be arguing that Yarriambiack, Gunawarra, Swan Hill, Mildura, local councils, who are all great supporters of the full standardisation option, will be then bearing the cost as we get more and more freight on their roads that they have to pay for, and not this rail project that was promised 5 years ago.
So is the question...
My question is, because it'll be another part of your department that we'll have to consider, the cost impost being borne by local rural councils as a result of this state government's failure to assess the cost of freight moving to road as opposed to staying on the rail. Is that something you'd expect to see in a business case?
In business cases, you would normally expect to see options analysis, including alternate delivery options.
So would you expect to see in a rail project that was supposed to get more freight off the road onto rail, that now is seeing leakage of that freight onto road and therefore incredible degradation, which is already happening over the last 5 years because of the failure of the delivery of this project? I'm happy to give you phone numbers of anyone you need to speak to about an on-the-ground assessment of this. To not include the cost of road maintenance at a local level in an analysis like this.
You would normally expect to see some element of costs, whether it's down to that granular level of all the road maintenance, but you would certainly take into account some of the benefits of removing trucks off the roads.
And the road safety benefits.
Yeah.
Because I can't find it in the executive summary that that type of analysis has been done, and it was raised with me this afternoon by people that are very interested in this project who aren't MPs, who are actual grain growers. I just wanted to get an understanding of whether the Commonwealth is happy for the current contractor, Rail Projects Victoria, who's overseen such a stunning implementation over the last 5 years, to continue to actually be the accountable delivery agency.
That would be part of conversations. We'd obviously want to make sure, as part of any assessment of options and conversations about procurement methodology and delivery partners, but ultimately delivery is normally a matter for the state.
But this project, Mr Smith, has been a disaster even from that own state government's Auditor General.
Senator, once the government's reached a position on this, that'll be a subject, the approach to delivery will be a subject of discussions and agreement with the Victorian government.
Will the business case executive summary provide for the necessary additional siding extensions and restatements at Donald, Oyen and Merbein?
I think the summary document is as it is. I think that's fully contained. I mean, we weren't consulted necessarily in the release, but the document contains the various options and the various scope on delivery.
And you're comfortable with what it outlines? Departments on your precursory reading of it?
Senator, this is pretty cursory asking Mr Smith, with this amount of
notice. This is an important project. We've been talking about this for 5 years.
It is. But
it's a disaster.
Mr Smith hasn't had an opportunity to talk to the government about this. He's read it this afternoon.
But he's very experienced.
To give positions on behalf of the government is challenging. He is very experienced.
It's not his first rodeo, shall we say?
That's true.
The way I
like the rules of racing.
Correct. The way I describe it is obviously, as I alluded to, there's ongoing conversations about options and delivery analysis. So that's an ongoing conversation.
Would you be hoping to see something in the Victorian state budget to actually support the options outlined in this executive summary?
Their funding commitments are a matter for them. We're working through with Victorian officials the various options, and there are obviously government-to-government conversations as well.
Has the Victorian Transport Minister ever delivered a major project on time and on budget that she's been in partnership with the federal government?
Why don't you ask her?
Because she's not here.
Senator, I would
This is a
have
partnership, Stella. Partnership.
Senator, I would have to take that on notice.
Could you take? I would really be interested in this, in the answer to that question. I could keep going.
Bridget,
Thank you very much.
appreciate it.
I look
Thank
forward to this
you,
project being delivered
Senator
and funded.
Mackenzie, Senator
50-50.
Davey, got a quick question?
I have a couple of questions back on road safety for Senator Searle, and then I have a couple of questions on what was in my program, which was COVID response on freight transport. But anyway,
So, Senator Mackenzie, you finished with
I've
that,
got to
right?
be somewhere else at 10. That's the only thing. I can. Well, you know what? I'm gonna start on COVID.
I don't care.
I'll start on COVID, I'll come back to road safety, and that will segue nicely to you. How's that sound? So,
Perfect.
And it's only, I'll be very brief for you, because I'm not here to waste time, but on the COVID response, very early in the piece, we entered into a freight agreement, a COAG, it was at the time,
Freight
National
Protocol?
Cabinet.
Yep.
Oh, the code, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. However, while we had a national agreement for freight transport to respond to COVID and keep our freight on the roads, each state had different at the border requirements. Is that right? So, you know, some truckies were carrying 3 different permits because they were crossing 3 different state borders.
Yes, Senator. So all of the jurisdictions, if they had border requirements, not all jurisdictions did, but if they had border requirements, it did facilitate those through different mechanisms. So, for example, in Western Australia, they had a G2G pass, which is an electronic pass on a cell phone. In Queensland, I think they had a paper pass, those sorts of things, yeah.
And some states required their truckies to have 7-day testing, and other states recommended it but didn't enforce it, and there was also difficulty in actually enforcing it at the border. Am I right?
No, that's not quite right, Senator. So all of the jurisdictions were very conscious that they wanted to make freight travel as smoothly as possible across the borders, and to try and facilitate a way that was still COVID safe, while ensuring that the freight could continue. So a number of the jurisdictions, we worked together in a working group across all of the jurisdictions to develop a protocol and a code which would give surety to the freight industry on what was happening in each jurisdiction. We settled collectively that COVID testing would be done on a 7-day rolling basis. Some jurisdictions made that mandatory, some jurisdictions didn't, but it was for 7 days, yes.
And overall, I mean, clearly I could still get my food, so, you know, freight was getting through. Overall, how did it work out? Did you have much feedback as to sticking points or issues, or did it actually roll out?
So we developed the freight protocol and the code in consultation with the jurisdictions and the industry, both the road and rail industry, and we only had positive feedback from both of those.
So at any point in the process, were you approached by other agencies for feedback of how you were able to roll something out so quickly? Because I think you rolled this out
in a matter of weeks.
In a matter of weeks, and we still haven't got an agreement on an agricultural workers code. throughout the nation. So have you ever been approached by other agencies to say, how did you do it and how can we replicate it in our industries such as agriculture, such as education, such as health? We've got health workers that got caught by border restrictions.
So, yes, we have been approached by other agencies, including the Department of Agriculture, and we provided our code to them for a basis.
And yet we're still waiting. On that, what about, we have had reports, so my understanding of freight is if it's on a truck and it's being freighted, it's freight. Why did we have these instances which we saw particularly on the Victoria-New South Wales border, made the national news where allegedly a farmer was told, put your sheep on a plane and fly them to Sydney, or put your 40 tonnes of hay on a plane and fly them to Sydney. Where was the breakdown in those instances?
I couldn't comment on that, Senator. What we do know is that we worked very closely with the transport agencies right across the country. We also involved the health agencies, so we got AHPPC to agree to the protocol before it went to National Cabinet. We do know that in the jurisdictions that the police were the ones who were actually enforcing things at borders. Sometimes when information wasn't provided or there was a change of, police and things like that, we did see little blips in regards to information, but I couldn't comment on that one. Most of the time I was able to pick up the phone to my police colleague or get the state to pick up the phone to their police colleague and get those things sorted like we did on the South Australian border.
As a general principle, Senator, in those circumstances, individuals charged with regulating their arrangements on the ground, say the first day they'd done it or the first time they were doing it, every now and then there'd be a bad judgment call, and we had, I think through Ms Hall, some very fast abilities to intervene through the consultative mechanisms that Ms Hall and team had set up, which allowed those issues to be resolved quite promptly.
So freight-wise, so for the sheep and the hay or ag machinery, that should have been resolved very quickly. The other issues about the actual workers or the drivers for the ag machinery, that's not an issue for the freight code. That was an issue for other agencies or, the state agencies with their border permit system.
I think the agricultural movements was a separate thing.
Yeah, agricultural movements was separate.
So moving agricultural machinery is not freight.
I was on the back of a truck.
On the back of a truck.
I'm biting my tongue here. I can answer your questions, but sorry.
And maybe I'm doing it for your benefit.
No.
So very quickly, and on that, because I'm trying to encourage the other agencies to come to the same solution that we've managed to do with freight, and that is establish a national code so we can get things moving again. But on road safety, we've got this extra $2 billion for road safety, which is going to the states. Is there any requirement for the states to report openly, transparently and publicly their road safety statistics so we can evaluate whether our money is achieving its goals?
So they will be required to provide the data, which we answered with Senator Sterl's question, to the department as part of the funding. That will go into the national hub and we will make that information available.
It'll be made public. Thank you, Senator Sterl.
Senator Davey, I don't want to sound like a smarty, but our truckies have been granted essential service status. Your farmers can apply for a exemption. Some of the stupidity coming out of Victoria is not lost on me. Your friends who want to get their freight over the border, whether it be hay or whatever, can apply to New South Wales Health. They can get an exemption under the animal welfare. I can help you all out on that, sorry.
And Senator Sterl, I couldn't agree more. My point in asking these questions and getting it on Hansard is it is not the Commonwealth Government blocking the free movement of freight. We have done everything in our power to ensure freight can move. And if people are getting held up at the border, that is actually not the Commonwealth Government's fault. That was my point in asking the questions, but I thank you very much for backing me in that.
Terrific. Accord. I love it. Senator Sterle, back to you.
I'll tell you, I was stuck on this from day one. Let me tell you, there were some hiccups around the nation, but we've done pretty well. There you go. All right, where was I?
Road safety.
Sheep's tomorrow. Where was I? Well, we're on sheep. Okay, road safety. Look, this won't take long now. We'll get into the good bit. Okay. I think Wal Merriman told me that about 10 years ago. Remember Wal? Anyway, so, sorry, I'll come back. My godfather, you're frightened Livendale. I was looking for Miss O'Neill, Mr. Allen. I thought I'd got to have a drink.
Deputy Secretary Helen has many skills, but...
Okay. Alrighty, now just the last couple on road safety, and I want to talk about the National Road Safety Data Hub, the 5.5 million over 4 years that have been announced. So I understand that is 5.5 million over 4 years, right? And I think that's a really good thing. That's great. That's tremendous, in fact. So how will you publish evidence of value to the community from this $5.5 million funding, Ms O'Neill?
So we'll use the Bureau of Infrastructure, Transport and Regional Economics, to support us to scope this up so that we are providing the appropriate dashboard and so that people can see how effective the investment has been by government.
Great. So when will this info be available to?
I think that doing an IT project to create something from nothing will take some time. I don't know exactly how long it will take, but I would hope that we would provide some reasonably close understanding of what was happening up front, but the actual beautiful data hub will take probably, I would say, 24 months or something.
Okay.
I think, though, in regards to that's actually having everything that we're wanting to have. Obviously, we've got the Bureau now who's already providing new information, new dashboards.
Well, yeah.
That we've been working up with the jurisdictions and with stakeholders, for example. So I'm anticipating that we have the hub established, but as it rolls out in its full, will take a little bit of time, but we will continue to be publishing things under the data hub from
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Because
progressively.
that's good.
That's exactly right.
And I'm trying to think, when did the Howard government wipe out the Office of Road Safety? 20 years ago, more, wasn't it? 30 years. Doesn't time fly when you're not having fun? 30 years. Okay, so you've come from a low bar. So okay, that's good. So how will the funding be spent? 30 years. Has it been that long?
I think the funding is dedicated to making sure that the linkages are there, that the data is received, and it's able to be, then used in a dashboard manner for people to be able to read it and get, decent data and decent understanding out of it.
Okay. How many new staff does this funding support, Ms O'Neill?
The 5.5, it supports 6 new staff.
6. All within your office? All internal?
They'll be split between the Bureau and our office.
They'll be attached to the office, but they'll be working through the Bureau.
The Bureau of Infrastructure and Transport and Regional Economics.
Oh, bidder.
Yes.
Bidder.
So they'll be attached to the office and they'll be working in the Bureau to help us with their skill sets. So.
Right, but they're yours?
But they're ours,
Yours, okay, good. So what data is considered essential under this data hub?
Well, really, we're tying data to other funding sources. So the data hub will provide fatal and serious injury statistics. It'll provide the statistics that are already there on drug and alcohol, all those kinds of things. So the data hub will have a variety of statistics, and I would expect that it would also show for where road investment has gone, it will show a change in the risk profile.
Okay, so, all right. So how will serious injury be reported?
Well, as you know, we're doing a national data linkage project, and as we finalise that project. It's in stage 2. There are 3 stages. As we get once we get a national serious injury definition, and we get like-for-like collection and can make sure that we're all counting the same thing, then that'll be, I think, the most useful piece of data we have, because then we'll be able to look at things more with greater granularity and go into how and why crashes are happening, and then that will help us better target the interventions that we need to prevent. So we're all trying to get to that national definition. We'll get a draft report in July, a draft report at the end of the year and a final report in July, and then I think that'll help us establish what the national definition will be. And then from that, we'll have to get, a bit of recalculation on how to implement that national definition from the hospitals that are collecting it.
Sure.
And then that'll give us I think that'll be the biggest step that we can make, because then we can actually look at how things are happening.
Great.
So what is it we need to prevent? What will be the most effective treatments?
So here's me outside the box curveball. What mechanisms you got there to bring in the stakeholders and say, how are we going? What do we need to do? How can we tweak it? Are we thinking down that line? Or is it all pretty well inside the tent?
No, I think we have a huge number of well-esteemed researchers that are available to us to help us think about how to drive this and how to get the best out of it.
It's not to knock you on the head, but to complement the work, because there's a lot of experts out there in the field too that live and breathe this stuff and have for many, many, many years. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, so we are getting offers, and we want to tap into those offers to make sure that we get the right...
Offers from external stakeholder groups, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, research institutions.
Yeah. Okay. Now you're thinking, what am I up to now, don't you? I don't know. I don't even know where that came from. Anyway, no, seriously. Now, just a couple more. It won't take long. What's the current budget of the Office of Road Safety?
I can tell you over 4 years, it's 61.7 million.
61.7 over 4 years.
Yeah.
And did you say it's 6 staff?
No, that's 6 new staff for the data hub.
Oh, 6 of the data hub, that's right. So how many staff all up?
15 currently. That's 13 departmental staff and 2 contractors. But that doesn't include the people working on road safety dispersed throughout the department. So it doesn't include the people in the bureau, it doesn't include the people in the infrastructure investment branches.
Okay, but you're the grand poobah, they end up with you? They all report to you, or do they report
I have 15 reporting to me now.
Yeah, but the ones who are reporting in the department...
So, for instance, in the Infrastructure Investment Division, the people who are delivering the $2 billion,
Yep.
they're state negotiator, deliver road treatment type people.
Right.
And so they would work with Ms O'Neill to
Right.
deliver that. She has sort of policy responsibility and oversight.
Yep.
Mr Smith, they actually are in his delivery structure because they have the existing relationships with the national partnership agreements to deliver.
Okay, be interesting to see how it all blends together. That's good. As I said,
It's
great
blended
Commonwealth
quite
is
together in the design work
being
of
involved.
of all of Ms O'Neill's work plus the road safety program.
Okie dokie. So what is the budget split between programs for the Office of Road Safety?
So individual programs?
Yes.
So we have the Road Safety Innovation
Yeah,
Fund.
so the split. What's the... You can take the one on notice if it's easier.
That would be better.
I think it'd be easier on that?
Yes.
Okay. So where is the National Road Safety Strategy for 21 to 30 up to in terms of stage of development?
I think we've answered that already with respect to
Right.
going to tick in November.
Yeah, but I mean, is it all ready or is there still bits hanging off it?
It's ready to move into tick and to
Well, I
be...
said jokingly next
if
week
it's
or the week
ticked,
after, it's not going to be, but...
I'm not sure
Not
when
jokingly,
exactly the meeting,
wishfully.
but it's ready to be considered by tick ministers.
Okay, how many staff are dedicated to this project, to this?
Oh, well, it's a surge and a dispersal and all of that. So, and we would also, use people from within the department to support us. So there was a very strong, dedicated team of 4 people with surge and support of all of the office, and in fact all of the division. Obviously, there's another part of our division that deals with the other parts of it, the heavy freight and the vehicle standards. So they don't sit within the office, but we draw on all of those people.
Well, the eyes are upon you all. That's good. Tremendous. Last one. Now, enough of the friendly stuff. No, here we go. Now I'm reliably told that 55 governments from around the world have agreed to the UN Global Road Safety Target to reduce deaths and serious injuries by 50% by 2030. See, now this is why it's great to have diligent staff, because my staff at Ben tells me that he believes Australia hasn't signed up to this target. Is that true?
So there was a UN...
There was a UN declaration that was tabled, I believe, about a month or 2 ago. We're still, because it doesn't actually sit with us, it actually sits with another area of the Australian government. So we're trying to find out how it was tabled and what the process was. So we'll have to come back to you on that.
No, that's fine. Which other area of government would that be?
I believe it's actually the Department of Health that manages the relationship with the World Health Organisation that led it.
Well, I'll put that on those. When do we intend to sign it, if we're going to sign it? And if you can come back to us on that, Ms Hall. Look, that's been fantastic. Let's hope that every round of estimates we keep getting more excited by the effort of road safety in the road safety area, right? I'm finished on that. We want to talk about ships.
Thanks, Senator